today, without further ado, we're going to jump into role playing, and we're going to just chat about each one of these things. So I'm going to give out the specific objection, if you will, from a marketing perspective. And then I will give it 5 seconds if somebody wants to respond. And if nobody wants to respond, I'll have to call on somebody.
Then I will.
Yeah, darn it. Yeah. But I think the whole point being is if we're coming to the marketplace with a top performer, NPC, whatever you want to call, A player, you name it. You're talking to the hiring manager. Obviously, you're going to get objections that are out there. And the goal being, once we have an objection on the table, which, the resistance is out there, how do we keep the conversation going without the conversation ending immediately? How's my timing? Well, it sounds great, but I'm not interested at all. Okay, click. That's what we're trying to stop from going on. So having a conversation to earn the right, if you will, to have a business conversation, decide if there's other things on the go that are out there. So let's just get rocking and rolling for a lot of these things. And we're going to look at pretty advanced topics as well today. All right. Meaning that some objections you may not normally get. So let's get rocking and rolling on this stuff. Okay. So the scenario is this. You just presented your A player. You thought you did a great job, man. You killed it. You thought. And then you gave him the closing statement. And you could choose the closing statement you want to. So if you get chosen, you want a different closing statement, you can certainly do that. You just presented a phenomenal candidate, feature, achievement, benefit. You just rocked it. I mean, you wish you recorded that call. It was so damn good up to this point. And then you said, how's my timing? Or whatever your close is. That's where we are. So everybody knows. All right, here we go. First one. Gee, sounds great, Patrick. We don't use recruiters. I don't know why he said Patrick. It just came out. I'm not sure why, but.
Well, I understand that you may not use recruiters, but, I represent impact players that typically will pay for themselves.
Yeah, and so great, but don't forget, you just talked about a specific impact player.
Oh.
Because you brought one player to the table, let's say. So I would do exactly that, except talk about the impact player, that you actually have. So let's go further in the conversation, Patrick. All right. You responded with, I understand. We represent impact players, and this specifically will do this specifically for your organization. So the idea is, how do we keep going with the conversation to address these, ask a question and move forward, and then ask the question again. So if you look at that from a strategy perspective, all right, would you like to see this candidate Monday or Tuesday of next week? The objection comes in, we really don't use recruiters, or whatever the objection is at the time. Then we've got to address the objection. Well, you can answer it in many different ways. We bring impact players to the table that really change a company overnight. Does it make sense for you to get on the phone next Monday or Tuesday with a specific candidate? So you got to go back at them, answer the objection, then answer the question again. You got to keep this thing going. Guys, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's try it again, Patrick. You said, would you like to see him Monday or Tuesday next week? The hiring manager, being kind of short and curt with you, says, well, we don't use recruiters. And you say,
well, great. This is more of a business opportunity, and I really feel that you should have a conversation with this player just to see what you may value out of potentially bringing them on board.
And then you got to ask a question.
When would you be available to speak to him?
That's it. All right. So in order to keep the conversation going forward, So if you just said a statement, well, I represent the top impact players and knock the cover off the ball with organizations that they join. You do realize if you don't ask a question, no one's going to say anything. You could just, you could just have dead silence then.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, you got to get the conversation going forward. So another question has to be asked. Does it make sense for you then to sit down with this candidate for you guys to see some of those benefits for the organization or whatever it is? And then the conversation continues. Does that make sense? And Patrick, I apologize for you being the first guinea pig here.
No, it's all right.
I love it. No, I mean, but understand the concept. Once you address the objection, you got to keep going forward. The boat doesn't stop. You got to ask the question to keep it going from a business perspective. All right. Since I picked on Patrick, the first one, Mr. Shavolsky, you just did a phenomenal job. You introduced a great candidate. You even saw they had an opening. You saw they had an opening for it. So you're presenting it to them. And then you close with, does it make sense to have a quick conversation with the candidate? The objection comes out, John, sounds like a phenomenal candidate. You really need to talk to HR though.
Yeah, absolutely understand, John. That's part of the process. And I want to have you as the hiring manager and HR involved. Having said that, what do you like about the candidate, on the piece of paper? So when I talk to HR, you and I can be on the same page.
Cool. Great. And you address the issue moving forward. Some other ways to address that is, we work like you did. We work with HR all the time with the hiring manager. We realize though that the hiring manager typically has more information about that. So let me ask you, from the candidate brought to the table, does that make sense while working through HR potentially that it could be a fit for what you're potentially looking for? So it's just asking the question to get you guys moving forward. All right, next one. Here we go. Let's keep rocking and rolling. What else we got on the phone here? I gotta go see. All right. Mr. Ragland. All right. Here we go.
Get ready, Ruth. You're next.
Yeah.
Sounds like a doozy. Sounds like
Yeah.
a doozy, Mark.
So what do we do in this case? Because I've had this happen before, and it's not our typical. This is not our typical objection that we typically practice. So I wanted to bring this out because I've heard it several times over the last few years. So Mr. Ragland, you close. You got a great candidate. You knock the cover off the ball. Sounds great. You're talking to the right person. The response comes back. Mark, appreciate the call, but I'm just not interested.
Not interested in having a conversation right now? Are you perhaps busy or not interested in potentially seeing talent that could help raise the bar for your department?
Yeah, no, love it. That's exactly it. So when they give you a question and an answer to your marketing objections like that, you gotta have, what do you mean not interested? That doesn't make any sense, right? They don't have time? Is it because they don't have time right now? They're in the middle of you're having a bad day. Are you not interested in talent or not interested in this individual? And then they go, well, I'm really not the hiring manager. You got to talk to somebody else or whatever it is. But no, great job. Great job, Mark. Okay, next one. Ruth, this is for you. This is for you. Hey, Ruth sounds phenomenal. Yeah, sounds like a great candidate, but I'm really busy, but can you send me a resume?
You're muted, Ruth.
Most definitely. But just before, we usually find that resumes don't really highlight all the accomplishments that the individual has accomplished. Would you have 5 minutes right now in order for me to elaborate some of the things that I was able to discuss with this individual, because you'll see on her resume, you won't see any of those things, because if sometimes a resume is sometimes a resume is just it's somebody that prepared it without even, anyways. Going back.
I like the wah
Okay.
wah wah. I like that.
You want.
That's Charlie Brown's teacher, isn't it?
All right, so most definitely, I'll be more than happy to send you the resume. Just wanted to let you know, however, that in the resume, you won't find, the accomplishment that this individual has done. I've had, in order for us to bring anyone in front of you, we've actually speak to them 3 times, right? So first to understand what they're looking for, secondly, understand what your company is looking for. So I'll be more than happy to send you the resume. However, I would also like to, have a conversation thereafter in order to elaborate the accomplishment that this individual has done.
Yeah. All right. So there's 2 reasons we need to address this quick. One is it a blow off, right? We don't see if the hiring manager is blow. Hey, go away, you little kid, you're bothering me, kind of a thing. We got to make sure it's that's not going on. Where just go away, send me a resume and go away. Is there really an opportunity, or there is really an interest level in the candidate? And then don't forget, we just can't sell the candidate. We got to find out what the client is looking for, because we got to sell the candidate on them. So we got to find all that information out. So that's exactly, we just got to find out number 1. Well, it sounds like you're interested in the candidate, which is fantastic. But let me ask you, I work with a candidate on a confidential basis, and I just can't be sending them anywhere. Do you have a specific role you're thinking of? And what specific did I said that interested you in this candidate? So we can get really deep into, is it a blow off? Number 1, or is it real? Well, they're very interested and they want to see a resume and we want to get a process going forward. And we may, get an interview on a go. We're going to make a placement, make some money on the deal. So for sure there. So let's keep going. I love it. Great job, Ruth. Great job. Mr. Hillman, I'm going to ask you, what's the objection you hear the most?
Well, send me a resume is always in there, which we just covered. Well, frankly, we don't have any openings.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, so
Gosh,
I
we
would
don't
say,
have any openings, or we're on a hiring.
Yeah, I would say
freeze.
number 1 is we get voicemail. Number 2, once we get a hold of them, it's no openings. And then resumes down there someplace. And then probably 3rd for me is I'm not the right person to talk to, talk to somebody else, you work with, so we hear that going on. But let's go through the openings one, because we have not addressed that. So, you give a great presentation. Hey, Chris, sounds like a great candidate, but we don't have any openings right now.
Got it, John. I certainly understand that. However, I didn't call because I thought you had an opening. This is a business opportunity is the reason that I'm calling you. I believe this person can more than pay for themselves in my fee and put up some profits for your company in under 12 months. Would that make sense to have a discussion further?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So understand the strategy here. We address the objection, then you got to move on with the conversation. So the question Chris just asked, I can't say it, verbatim as you did, but does it make sense to move forward? Candidate that can do something like this is great. All right, so let's keep going now. All right, those are the major objections. Now let's address the tougher stuff. Let's say we're going through the process. All right, and the question comes up as the next objection, because it's a secondary objection. Does a candidate live in the Northeast? I'm going to open this up to everybody. Your next objection, you address the first one. Now the client is asking you a very specific question about the candidate.
You have something taking place in the Northeast right now that needs addressing? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So, and Mark, that's right on. So anytime there's a question that comes out that wants specific information, whatever it is. Yeah. Do they sell printer applicators? Do they, whatever it is, you really don't want to answer the question. You want to ask another question. Mark, and I'm going to ask you why. Since you answered that, why?
You're asking why as to my response?
No, I'm asking why do we need to ask a question versus answer? Yeah, they have printer applicator experience or whatever it is.
Well, now he's getting to the heart of what possible business need he might have, because that's what's really important. maybe not my particular candidate. So it's important to not be fixated on the candidate that I'm putting in front of him, but rather, oh, I think I hear a need here. Let's unpack that. Perhaps the candidate will be a fit, perhaps not, maybe something different, but now I got him engaged, hopefully, if we can follow that train.
Let's go the wrong way. All right. Is the candidate in the Northeast? And Mark, you say, no, they're in Michigan. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't work for me. Good to know
Well,
you.
yeah, that's
Click.
yeah.
What? So is this candidate in Northeast? Any question that comes up, we need to answer with a question. It could be, let me ask you this, Mr. Klein. It sounds like, do you have an opening in the Northeast? Is that where you're looking for people specifically? And so you got to answer the question with a question to understand why they're asking the question. Because if we answer the question and it's no, they live in Alaska. Well, you don't have anybody in Alaska. It's over. You're covered. So the goal is to keep the conversation going, and as we go through the process, have a better understanding of what the client is looking for. Mr. Carming, give me your thoughts there.
Well, number one, you don't want to ask a question that the answer to which could be a negative, right? I mean, you really want to understand why the question was asked, on their side, so that you can sort of come up with a better answer, whatever that may be. And it may not be that your candidate's the right fit because they're looking for somebody in the Northeast after you ask why, and they happen to be in Alaska. Maybe it's Northeast Alaska. Which okay, you could answer yes, but the fact of the matter is you want to try and know any question that you ask, you want to try and have the answer to it before you ask it, if you can, or the answer to which isn't going to harm extending the conversation. So you want to be treated, you kind of want to be surgical in how you ask questions or what questions you ask.
Okay, so let's keep role playing further. Is this individual in the Northeast? Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Klein. Do you need somebody in the Northeast? Is that a specific area that you need people in? Well, we really do. Northeast is the most important part of what we're looking for. Jeff?
So tell me let's talk a little bit more about what the specifics are in terms of what you need, for somebody in the Northeast.
Yeah. And you could also say the candidate at that point in time, you could say, the candidate I've got is out of the Midwest, but the great news is I have these kind of candidates all over the United States. Tell me exactly what you're looking for specifically in the Northeast. What's the position title? And you can go through your 20-point search assignment form or whatever form that you're actually filling out. So, and guys, this is a skill. If I said to you, do they have printer applicator experience? What's the question you could ask back?
Why?
That's an interesting question, John. Why do you ask?
Yeah.
Just standard sharp angle. I had a boss that just ingrained that. He'd walk around the room and do this.
Yeah.
Sharp angle close. That's an interesting question. Why do you ask? That's the only thing you had to remember was that one thing, and it solved all issues.
Yep.
Well, when you think about that, and once you ask that question, now you've got the client, sharing everything with you, and you're listening and writing it down, and you're adding some stuff. That's why I caution everybody as we go through this. Yes, we got to get through the first objection, but you got to get through the next 3 too to keep this thing going. So really, the practice we need to do is, yes, we got to be great at no openings and all that kind of stuff. But we got to get great at extending the conversation and getting to the understanding of what the client really wants. Because the more the client talks, the more he loves you. Guess what? The more you talk, the more not so much he likes you. So we got to keep the client talking more by simply being very, very good, extending the conversation and directionally bringing the conversation. You almost have to act like your kid, right? Your young child, where they ask a question, you tell them no, and all of a sudden you're about to get a series of whys. You answer the first why, and what does your kid say? Okay, Dad, but why? Here's the answer to that. Okay, Dad, but why? Yeah.
it's more, we need to be more sophisticated than that. But, I think in a lot of cases, they have to be open-ended, who, what, when, where, how, why questions, because just a sharp close-ended, if they were in the Northwest or if they were in the Northeast, would that be somebody that you would want to take a closer look at?
All
Well,
right,
now all of a sudden, what happens if they say no? And it's a sharp, quick, no, and it sort of jogs you off your chair.
so let's elevate the conversation now. We're talking to the hiring manager now. Let's move the conversation up, talking to the CEO. You're going to have different communications with the CEO. And as we talked about yesterday, in the Getting DeVito theme of yesterday's meeting, it's not going to be about a candidate, blah, blah, blah. And if it is, you'll be put down to the right person fairly quickly, which still is not going to hurt you. But the objections you're gonna want to get across the table very quickly is, why are they talking to you? Why in the world are they? You got them on the phone, but why in the world are they talking to you? So we have to have an answer for that. So let's say we came to the table. We're talking to a CEO, and here's your conversation. CEO's name is, let's call her Paulette. Hey, let's bring some gender into this thing, right? Paulette. And we're not sure which gender Paulette is, by the way. I'm just saying we're bringing out the name Paulette, is all I'm saying. So Paulette, I currently do search for you guys. I've actually put in Dennis Bombalur's complete sales organization. And I just wanted to have a quick conversation with you. I know his organization is up by 50% over last year. And I just want to have a quick conversation and let you know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and to see specifically if there's any areas of your company that you need that kind of change in. All right. So now I'm not talking about a guy. I'm not talking about a candidate. For Paulette, I'm sharing the successes I've had with their organization. I'm sharing them who I am and what we've done with Dennis Bombalur's department. And then the transition is there any other department within your organization that could use that type of help? All right. So are you guys with me?
Yep.
All right, I'm the one. I set this thing up. Jeff, you're up. You need to talk to Barbara Streisand.
You want me to talk to Babs?
In HR.
Well, Paulette, and certainly, as you may probably know, we work with HR all the time, and I'm actually working with Babs right now. And I've worked with her, helping build Bonvalur's department. But I'm kind of curious, you're that person at the top of the pile, and you're the strategic visionary. You're somebody that sees what's going on within all aspects of the organization. Obviously, I know that you see the success that we've had with Bonvalur's department. I'm just really kind of curious, in a conversation with Barbara, what specific departments should I be talking to her about, that you would like to have, some of the same results with?
I love it. But let's take the 400 words to 4. Yeah. Paul, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Is there a specific department we should focus on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what you're going to see as you move up the ladder, you're going to have objections, but the objections are going to be a little different ones. Now, think about what that objection is. If the CEO is bringing you down to a department, they're doing one of two things, just like send me a resume. They're blowing you off. They want you off the phone. Or number two, there's really a need there. Ask a question and find out what that is. All right. Let's just round thoughts, comments. What else we hearing? Mr. Shavolsky, give me your thoughts. What else you running into?
Yeah, the one that I had was wasn't the don't work with recruiters, but they already have a couple of recruiters that we work with. As a kind of an initial response. Again,
right.
Depending on the situation. Yeah, depending on the situation, right? Tell me more. Why aren't you hanging up with me if they're so good, kind of a thing, and just there. But I hear more of the we already have recruiters, or it's handled in like a corporate setting, not a site setting. Would be the kind of the two that I hear the most.
Let's take that objection in two ways. One ways of that objection is we have internal recruiters currently, on it right now. And that's, again, they're either blowing you off or, we haven't found a need yet. We haven't found a problem yet. So they got existing internal recruiters. The other way is we have several recruiters that work for us right now as well. All right, open it up to the general public. John, you as well. How do we answer it? What's the objection to get us moving forward? The rebuttal to the objection to get us moving forward.
Do you have any of those particular recruiters working on specific assignments for you right now?
Yes.
Follow-up question to that is, how's that going? How long have they been working? What kind of candidate flow are you seeing? What's the caliber of candidates that you're seeing?
Yeah, and I think when I take a look at this objection, because you do hear it often, John, you're right on, especially with the bigger companies, they have internal recruiting organizations. The first thing I'd ask is, number one, and I get very specific, because if you just say, how's it working for you? It's too easy to blow it off. It's too general. It's working fine. Get the hell off the phone, stupid recruiter. You got to be very specific. So when you look at this objection, well, let me ask you a question, Gertrude. Let me ask you this question. Specifically, are you seeing top performers from the competitors you want to see that from in a timely basis? Are you seeing top performers from the competitors you want to see them from in a timely basis? And then if that could lead into a great conversation, because if they say, hell no, really, how long does it take you to fill a job? Well, right now we're averaging 6 months. Oh my gosh, 6 months. We're using a Sandler technique of maximizing the pay. Oh my, 6 months? That's got to be killing you. What's that costing from a production perspective? Right. So, so once we find there's a need, maximize the pain, but again, ask us very specific question, because general questions will get a general blow off. And then the simple transition statement is, Gertrude, if I could show you a way where you're going to see top performers a lot sooner than 6 months, but realistically 2 to 3 weeks, would that give us a means to potentially explore together? Would that give justification for us to work together maybe on something to change the game so you don't have those problems working forward? So I think it's an important objection that we all got to get really, really good at addressing. And Mr. Ragland, are you seeing that objection?
Right. I am. Well, I see every variety of objection. The one I assume you're referring to, because we've gone down a long string of dialogue here, where we've had success with one particular area and we're trying to break into another, and now we have to talk to HR. Is that?
No. This is they simply said we have internal recruiters working on it. We have internal recruiters, or other recruiters working on it. And we got 3 other recruiters working on working with us. So.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, I am seeing it, and. The follow-up question is always, in some form or fashion, how has that been working out? But even that is actually a closed-end question. I've gotten shut down just coming at them with that, because then they just give you a fine, right? But so what kind of results are you seeing? Are you seeing the top-level people coming through there? I mean, that's going to be a good gauge. The way he responds to that, because it's a very good, honest question. It's going to let you know if you're being blown off or not. We've seen everything we need. Yeah, whatever. Good, great, move on. Sometimes the answer, the next step in the process is move on.
Yeah, and then let's just last questions for everybody. What happens if there's nothing there? They've got existing recruiters that are knocking the cover off the ball. We haven't found a need yet. What do we do? What do we do?
Source out of them.
We'll still work with them, right, Patrick? Just in a different way.
I think part of how you get to the approach is having the hard to approach candidates. So you got to know the ones that everybody's coveting to be able to turn it back on them. So you wouldn't want to hear about, this gentleman with 5 years of experience in product development and exactly what you're doing, still an individual contributor, which are very hard to find, does want to be in leadership down the road. You couldn't find room on the bench for this type when I know that there's a shortage of them.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the conversations that I would really kind of focus on by owning the niche, what you're hearing, the pain from other leaders, because the message is typical across the board, unless if it's more of a regional thing or they're in, living out by me and don't have a great talent pool. So
yeah. So real quick, guys, it's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna let you guys go. But this is probably the most important thing: is not only going after the primary objections you're going to get through a conversation, but addressing the primary direction, asking questions to get the conversation going forward, and then getting the secondary objections that come up to allow this business conversation to happen. The more the conversation goes on, your chance of success of working with this company goes up exponentially every step you go through. So we got to get good at the primary objections, addressing them, asking questions to move the thing forward, and then addressing the secondary objections that come out throughout the conversation. So all the things we'll work on as time is coming. Everybody have a great weekend, and somebody close the deal today, please. See you guys.